phi. So this is what 1 over 2 pi dt at point y, at point let's go to x, is equal to x minus y nu of x minus y 2. I write down that this is in dimension 2. Same other dimensions. So just to change 2 pi by the measure of the sphere, and to change 2 here by d. And phi y d sigma y. Okay. So now if you make the change of this change of variable, and you call the function phi y of tilde y tilde phi of y tilde is phi of y, you will get k bar star of phi at x. This is the same as k d star of b of phi tilde at x tilde for any x on the boundary. Okay, so x tilde will be on the boundary of b. Then what is left? This would give you lambda a minus k b star minus 1 of nu. The normal at b and the normal at d are the same. Just the scaling. Okay, translation. Normal is independent by translation. By scaling. Then this would be the same. Now you will have from this one you will have delta to the power d minus 1, but from this one you will have one more delta. So here you will have this would be y tilde. So we will have one delta here, and from this change of variable you will have from this one you will have delta to the power d minus 1. So you will get something of order the volume. So this guy would be so this guy would be u minus h is approximately gradient of gamma x minus d times there is delta d here, volume of the inclusion, volume of the target, times sum on dB of lambda a minus kb star minus 1 of nu y tilde d nu yes y tilde d sigma y tilde, I will call it something, and times gradient of h of t. That's all. So the perturbation in the field is of order the volume, and this one I will call it polarization tensor. It's a matrix called M. Its entries are MAG. It's a D by D matrix, and the MAG is nothing else than the sum on dB lambda A minus KB star minus 1 of the A component of nu and G component of YG, D sigma YG. This is matrix, D times D matrix. This formula shows that the perturbation is induced is dipole. Dipole is a gradient of a Green function. This is dipole at D. Okay. Point source is quadrupole is second derivative, higher order multiple are just derivatives of the Green function. higher derivative of the green functions. Okay. So when we make this asymptotic expansion in terms of the size of the inclusion looks like a dipole. Okay, makes sense, and it's polarized. This gives the axis of the polarization. This M. This is polarized because it's a polarized dipole, and it depends on the value of this harmonic function at the location. So from this formula, you may think that it's possible to reconstruct the location from the measurements. Measurements would be this one. Measurements. Multistatic measurements would be what? We replace H by, if we are interested in multistatic response matrix, you replace H by what? By gradient of Y minus Z, because this is the solution without the inclusion. Y is the source point, and X here is the receiver. Y is the transmitter, X is the receiver. So you have the gradient of the green function from the source point to the target, to the location of the target, and then polarized by this matrix, and then from the target to the receiver. Okay, so you have this is Y, here, this is G, and this is X. So you have the signal from here to here, it's polarized by this matrix, and then from here to here. Okay. So and then if you are interested in the conductivity from this, it's clear that you cannot get it, because you can change scale B, scale lambda, and get the same thing. Okay, you can make this target smaller, its conductivity higher, and you will get the first leading order term. As a dipole approximation, you will get exactly the same dipole approximation. So if you want to separate the volume of the inclusion, this delta times the volume of B, from the contrast, you need higher order terms. So I will introduce them the day after tomorrow. Okay, and they come with something that generalizes this polarization tensors. We'll call the generalized polarization tensors. Actually, they describe quadrupole, and they describe higher order terms. Okay, so M is associated to dipole approximation. The polarization tensor is associated to dipole approximation. Higher order terms, quadrupole approximation, is associated to higher order polarization tensors. We call it the generalized polarization tensors. Okay. These generalized polarization tensors, if you use this one, you can separate. I will show you how to separate. You can reconstruct approximate shape. Okay. If you use this one, you cannot separate the conductivity parameter from the volume, but you can locate and you can reconstruct the polarization tensors. Okay. So what's going on for bounded domains? So this is an unbounded domain. So like yesterday, it starts with this unbounded domain to write this representation formula. For bounded domains, it's the same, but with H, replace it. It's the same representation formula. From H, replace it by what? So for bounded domains, we should replace H by minus single layer potential. Single layer potential on gamma. Okay. G plus double layer potential on gamma F. So what's gamma? Gamma is the bounded domain, background conductor. This is gamma. This is the target. It's still D. It's conductivity K, different from 1. This is conductivity 1. And we are interested in the conductivity problem. Divergence plus of 1 plus K minus 1. Characteristic function of D. Gradient 2 equals 0. And normal derivative equal G. This is the injected current. And we measure the potential. Or we fix the potential and measure the induced current. So we have this Cauchy data. F and G. This is given. Okay, these are the input. Okay, from these F and G, we reconstruct H. It's given by just this one, minus single layer potential G plus double layer potential of F. We plug in this here, and we have exactly the same. Okay, so we can do exactly the same asymptotic analysis, and we end up with the same formula, but instead of gamma here, it's the Newman function. So bounded domain, it's in blue. Bounded domain is in blue. We replace this one by what I introduced yesterday, Newman function. Solution to Laplacian. Actually, my notation is minus delta z, so it's minus a gamma function, and the normal derivative is equal minus over the measure of the boundary on the omega. Okay, makes sense because given G, normal derivative of U is equal to normal derivative of the background solution. The background solution is solution to Laplacian U equals 0 in omega. It's harmonic in omega, and its normal derivative equals G. So if you take the normal derivative of this function, actually this asymptotic holds not only on the boundary, but holds far away from D. Okay, so you can take its normal derivative. If you take the normal derivative of this one, it's 0. So actually the formula is this one. Here, H is approximately capital U, and this is capital U. So the perturbation induced by the inclusion in bounded domain is small u minus capital U is equal to minus the volume times the gradient of the Newman function, and times the polarization tensor times the gradient of the background solution. Okay. Now, as I said yesterday, there is a relation between n and gamma. The relation is in terms of this k omega operator. If you take minus 1/2 plus k omega of this guy, you will take minus 1/2 plus k omega of n, and minus 1/2 plus k omega of n is gamma up to constants. So gradient of this is gamma. Okay. So if you have measurements inside omega, you can kind of simulate post-processing the measurements in such a way you replace n, the function you don't want to compute because it depends on omega on the boundary, and actually in many applications these you have some uncertainty on omega, and you don't want to propagate the uncertainty on omega inside your imaging functions. So it's still here because of k omega, but it's k omega is non-local operator. So it's in such a way you will average the uncertainty on omega. You apply this operator and you replace n by gamma, and you will get the green function, which is explicit, and then resolution and stability analysis can be done because this is explicit function. Okay, now what's going on for Helmholtz equation? So we'll start with the same. We'll start with unbounded domain. for unbounded domain, so what we have divergence 1 over mu, same notation as yesterday, epsilon mu equal to 0, and u minus h, instead of u minus h satisfies this behavior at infinity, it has to satisfy, now it's Helmholtz equation, it has to satisfy Sommerfeld radiation condition. Okay? In order to select the physical solution, the Sommerfeld radiation condition. Okay, mu and epsilon are mu star, epsilon star inside the target, mu 0, epsilon 0 outside the target. Okay, and h, what's h? It's like yesterday. It's a particular solution of Helmholtz equation. So either plane wave or cylindrical or spherical wave, cylindrical in dimension 2 or spherical wave. So cylindrical wave is what? It's just gamma k0 of x minus y. Y is the source of the wave. Spherical wave is gamma k0 x minus y. Gamma is the fundamental solution. Okay, fundamental solution is defined yesterday. It's k0 square gamma k0 x minus y. This is delta y, and it satisfies the Sommerfeld radiation condition. It's explicit. Okay. Okay. K0 is, as I said, it's the frequency square epsilon 0 mu 0. Okay. What's the formula for Helmholtz equation? It's almost the same. If you look at this equation, here you have same structure at conductivity, but here it's different. It's zero order perturbation. So zero order perturbation will induce point source, be electric point source, because of the contrast on epsilon. This part is magnetic dipole, will induce magnetic dipole. So for Helmholtz equation, we will get the sum of an electric point source plus magnetic dipole. So the formula is here. So the formula is perturbation u minus h far away from the inclusion. It's what? It's of order the volume gradient h d, or I will put it the other way. Gradient the fundamental solution x and z, the polarization tensor associated to lambda and b. Lambda would be what? Would be the magnetic contrast. So lambda would be magnetic contrast mu 0 over mu star plus 1 over 2 mu 0 mu star minus 1. It was k plus 1 over 2k minus 1. So magnetic contrast is this one times gradient. This times polarization tensor applied on gradient of h at z. This is the magnetic dipole plus k0 square epsilon star epsilon 0 minus 1, the volume of B, times the fundamental solution at x and z times h at z, and this is the electric point source. So this one This is electric point source. Of strength what? Permittivity contrast times K0 square times the volume and times the field at the incident field at Z. This is point source, electric point source, because it depends only on the electric contrast. If there is no electric contrast, there is no contribution, point source contribution. And this one is the magnetic dipole. If there is no magnetic contrast, there is no contribution. This one is magnetic dipole. So the perturbation induced by the inclusion is just the sum of a magnetic dipole and the electric point source. And the amplitude is of order of the volume when we are far away from the inclusion. Far away means we are in terms of wavelength. Okay. So this expansion is valid when the frequency times delta is smaller than 1. Whatever is the frequency can be very high. Okay, this frequency, the operating frequency could be very high, but if the size of the inclusion is smaller than the wavelength, then the asymptotic expansion holds. It makes sense. And we are far away from the inclusion. Okay, I will show you near field expansions. Near field expansions are completely different from far field expansion. So these are far field expansions in terms of x minus z is larger. This is larger than the wavelength. If it's farther the wavelength, the asymptotic expansion is completely different. Actually, both this one is and this one. Can you see why they don't hold when x is close to z? If you look at this leading order term, it's singular. It's singular when x is close to z. But the solution of the problem is not singular. It's very smooth. Out of y, the solution is very smooth. So you want to approximate very smooth solution by singular solution. It doesn't make sense. So this means that this asymptotic formula is not valid in the near field regime. It's valid only in the far field regime. It's not uniform in terms of x. It's valid only for x far away. Okay. Now, when you do the asymptotic expansion for bounded domain, assuming that for Helmholtz equation, you do the bounded domain, assuming that there is no eigenvalues. As I said yesterday, if the exclusion is small, then it suffices to suppose that the background field is defined. The frequency is not eigen frequency of minus Laplacian with Newman boundary condition or Dirichlet boundary condition, and this is enough to have well-posedness in the presence of the inclusion. If the inclusion is small enough, using this collectively theory of collectively compact operators. Okay. Now we have if we don't have eigenvalues and we want to approximate the effect of small inclusion inside the bounded domain, what's the formula? The formula is the same. It's the same as here. Replacing fundamental solution by the Riemann function, and that's all. And h by the background field. So background field would be capital U. So blue one would be, this is u of z. This is u of z. M will be there, and here n k0 of x and z. And here n k0 of x and z. N is the solution of Laplacian plus k0 square, and k0 is equal to Dirac mass. And its normal derivative is equal to 0. we don't have compatibility conditions because K0 is non-zero. Okay? So we replace just fundamental solution by n can 0, and we are done. And here the perturbation induced for Helmholtz equation with Newman boundary condition on the boundary is given by this formula, sum of a magnetic dipole plus electric dipole. This formula too, if we post-processing the data here using the operator what I showed yesterday, minus 1/2 plus k omega put k0 here of this one, we will replace n by gamma. We will go back to the Green function, and the Green function, this one we know what it is, and we have Helmholtz-Kirchhoff formula for this one. For this one there is no Helmholtz-Kirchhoff formula. Okay, so Helmholtz-Kirchhoff formula is this is I'm going to use it for resolution analysis. Helmholtz-Kirchhoff formula is this one. When you integrate on y equal r, and r is large enough, gamma k0 of x and y, gamma k0 of x, y and z, complex conjugated, you integrate over dy. This is minus 1 over k0 imaginary part of the Green function at x and z, when x and z are fixed and r is going to infinity. And this holds for the inhomogeneous function, for the fundamental solution of the inhomogeneous medium. And it's based on what? It's based on two things. It's based on reciprocity principle and Sommerfeld radiation condition. These are only the things we use to prove this formula. Limit when r equals to infinity. And it says that if you construct, it's the only thing that we can construct. We will show that the only thing that we can reconstruct from the data is the imaginary part of the Green function, not the real part. The real part is singular. It would give infinite resolution, but this would give finite resolution. This would give the diffraction limit. I will be back to this after all. This would too would give the diffraction limit, even though it's an homogeneous medium, but it's a diffraction limit. Locally, it's exactly the same. Okay, now for completeness, let me show you what, because we went through wave equation and time dependent regime. So what's the formula? What's the formula in the time dependent regime? So you can think about how we related yesterday the retarded fundamental solution to the wave equation to the fundamental solution to Helmholtz equation. So just what's the relation between them? So just one is the Fourier transform of the other. Okay, you may think that taking the Fourier transform of this equation or of this asymptotic will give you the asymptotic in the time dependent domain. But in the time dependent domain, there is no length anymore. There is all the frequencies. So let me write it down. So what would be the equation at the time dependent domain? So we have a target. We emit a wave in the time domain. We emit the wave at t equals 0 from here. It's a spherical wave. It will hit the inclusion. Before this travel time, y minus z. So travel time from y to z is the square root of epsilon 0 mu 0 y minus z. Because this before this travel time, there is no perturbation because it doesn't see the target. Still doesn't see the target. After this travel time, there will be something diffracted from the inclusion, and this diffraction from the effect of the inclusion would be in view of this would be what? Would be a dipole. Okay? Would be will propagate plus point source, but let's assume that epsilon 0 equal epsilon star, make it simple. There is no this term, we are interested only in this term. Okay, there will be dipole, polarized with polarization tensors, and propagating to here. Okay, and you collect the signal here, and this is the formula. But in the time domain, you have q minus, this is the equation, divergence. Let me write it 1 plus k minus 1 gradient of q, the k of the gradient of q equals 0. So this is a wave equation. K is nothing else than this magnetic contrast compared to this formula. Okay, so the wave is emitted at y and emitted at t equals 0. Okay, it's function of u and x, and it's 0 before time equal t equals 0. It's causal, it's a physical one. It's causal solution. Okay, everywhere in x. Okay, so this is the wave emitted from here at t equals 0. Okay, so what's the perturbation? If you take Fourier transform of this, you will get Helmholtz equation. Say for all the frequencies plus omega square for all the frequencies. So some frequencies will be high frequencies for the target. Some wavelengths will be much smaller than the target. Some wavelength will be much larger. So if we want this asymptotic formula to hold, this asymptotic formula is in the low frequency regime. It's not in the high frequency regime. To derive such a formula, we assume that the size of the inclusion is smaller than the wavelength. If the size of the inclusion is larger than the wavelength, there is no chance to have this formula. Okay? Now, if we want to get the effect of a small inclusion, we have to truncate all the high frequencies in this wave equation. So we introduce this truncation operator, which truncates the high frequencies. Okay. So of x and t is the integral for the frequencies smaller than rho, and Fourier transform minus 1 of the Fourier transform of x omega. So hat is for the Fourier transform. We take a function, we take its Fourier transform, we take its inverse Fourier transform. If rho is infinity, then this is psi. Now we take its Fourier transform, we truncate all the high frequencies, make them 0, and we take its filtered version. Okay, so this p rho of psi is low it's a low frequency filter. Okay, it filters all the high frequencies. I'm always saying this in the other way. It's truncating the high frequencies is making low frequency pass. Okay, now the perturbation. If U is the background solution, it's a solution to this guy. This is a solution without the inclusion. For T negative, then we can prove that the perturbation is very similar to that. Actually, using the fact that this formula holds for all frequencies smaller than 1 over delta. So then we can optimally choose, we can choose this in optimal way, related to delta, actually further 1 over delta. If the frequency, if this rho, if this filter filters all the frequencies higher than 1 over delta, delta is the size of the inclusion, then we get a formula. And the formula is the filtered measurements is function of the same, is function of the polarizability of the inclusion and its position. Okay. You get far away from the inclusion minus capital U x and t. This is of order the volume. So let's make it I'm writing this down in 3D. Let's see. The integral on the gradient of the filtered wave created at d, I'll fix the notation, of x and t minus 2 times the polarization tensors applied on gradient of p rho u y at x and at x and 2, and this is integrated on d2. It's convolution between what? It's convolution between the truncated wave, polarized, and the emitted wave. Okay, so UZ, so y here, this is uy, this is the wave emitted by y. Okay, this one. You truncate its high frequency component, you polarize it by the polarization tensor of the inclusion, and you make the convolution with wave emitted at z at time, which time? It starts from time t. T is the travel time from here to here. So before time this travel time, before time t, nothing is happening. There is no perturbation because the wave doesn't see yet the inclusion. Okay, it propagates. It's spherical. It hits this one, and then the inclusion behaves like what? It behaves like dipole. It generates a smaller wave. If you truncate its high frequency component, then you have a formula for it. That's all.
When we use low frequency wave,
yes.
When you send low frequency wave, should we still truncate the high frequency?
Yeah, if low frequency wave, then it's truncated, already truncated. Actually, in practice, low frequency wave is not the solution of this one, delta t. It's a solution of here ft. And ft is the Fourier transform of something band limited in frequency. Okay, then it's okay. You don't truncate. Just put it here. But because the delta function, if it's a Fourier transform, is just one for all the frequencies. You excite all the frequencies together. Okay, so this asymptotic expansion holds when x is far away from z. Okay. Now let me make a comment on this far field expansions and write down what is the inner expansion, because we need to see it once. If we are thinking about inner expansion, so let me write it down first for this time-dependent problem. It's the same as time harmonic region. If x is not far from z, means that if x is at a distance comparable to delta from z, then the perturbation behaves completely different. Actually, it's not of order the volume, it's order the size. So it's delta times some function in x rescaled times gradient of p rho of u, which one? Y and x. This one is completely different from this one. So let's write it in the time-independent regime for the conductivity. So what's V? V is solution to Laplace and V equals 0 in the inclusion and outside the inclusion. Its trace has no jump. Its normal derivative has a jump, but there is a conservation of the flux. K normal derivative minus is equal to the derivative plus. So minus and plus, this is minus and this is plus. And V behaves like psi at infinity. Psi is just this rescaled variable. Okay. So this is V. So it's a function. It's not in terms of something. If it's not overall effect. It's a function. So here M is not a function. It's a kind of overall effect. Kind of what you see far away from the inclusion. If you are near the inclusion, the behavior is completely different. Okay, that's it's in terms of this function V. So if we write it down for Helmholtz or for this quasi-static limit, the conductivity problem with omega equals 0, it's something like this. For the conductivity, it's U minus capital U. Here is the inclusion, conductivity inclusion. It's K different from 1. Inside background 1. If you are near the inclusion of distance of the size of the inclusion, U minus U of x is equal to first order term approximately to delta V of x minus z over delta times gradient of u of z. So this is u of x minus u of z. So x is here, z is here. U of x, the perturbation here, is u, capital U of z here, plus this function, delta v of x minus z delta over delta times the gradient of u at z. So what's the link between this formula and this formula? This one. So this one is I will write it down here. Same notation is u minus x minus capital U of x is equal to delta d, the volume, times gradient of the Green function x minus z times polarization tensor or lambda b times this matrix applied at gradient u at z. So what's the link between this one and this one? This one doesn't hold for near field, but this one holds for far field. And the link is just the behavior of V. So what's the behavior of V? V is solution to this problem. V is solution to the problem. What's the behavior of V? You can write down that V of xi is equal to xi. This is its behavior at infinity. Let's fix it. Plus what? Plus gradient of gamma at xi times the polarization tensors plus O of 1 psi 2 in dimension 2. So the asymptotic behavior at infinity of V gives you the polarization tensor. Because of what? This is, you can write just you can get this from its representation formula. It's the single layer potential of its xi plus the single layer potential of some density, and you compute the density exactly in the same way as yesterday. And the density is nothing else than lambda a minus k this is b, k b star minus 1 of what? D xi d nu. But d xi d nu is what? This is nu. And then you expand single layer potential as I did over there. And you get the sum on gamma, lambda a minus kb star of nu, but this is 0. And the other one, second term, is gradient of gamma times what? Times the lambda a minus kb star integrated of nu times xi d sigma xi. And this is the polarization terms. So the behavior of V gives you the polarization terms. You plug in this formula here, 1 xi equal to x minus d over delta, and xi is large. This means that you are in far field regime. You will get this formula, because here you have u this ud plus delta. You will get the ud plus delta xi gradient of ud. This is the asymptotic expansion of gradient of this is the asymptotic expansion of ux. Delta xi is x minus d. This is the asymptotic expansion of ux. So you will end up with u minus ux from this term here equal to this one. And xi is x minus d over delta. Then gradient of gamma x minus d over delta is what? Is in dimension 2. It's delta gradient of gamma x minus d because of the scaling of the Green function. Green function is log, takes gradient is 1 over, and then if you take it on x minus d over delta, you will get delta. But there is delta here, so you get delta 2. And we are done. So this is the relationship between far field expansions and near field expansions. So in somehow this is the key point on all of this imaging stuffs from far field expansions. The equation is filtering the information. So here you have a lot of information. This is a function V. Actually, we can prove that if we know this function, we know the inclusion. But far field measurements, you get its first leading order term, gradient of this. So you lose a lot of information. And this is kind of filtering. And the filtering was done by what? By the equation, Laplacian. Even Laplacian filters the information. Helmholtz equation filters the information too. Slightly different way, but filter the information too. So I will be back to this this afternoon. So this afternoon I will start with very few properties of M. So I will study this after the day after tomorrow. Polarization tensors and generalized polarization tensor, their properties, and how can be used for matching the shape of an inclusion, or for dictionary identification, or tracking of mobile target. And then I will use these formula for detection to get the test immediately from the data without doing any imaging. You take the multistatic response matrix, you compute its singular value decomposition, you pick up the first singular value, and from this singular value, immediately you can say whether there is an inclusion or not. Okay, so this is detection test. And then I will use this leading order terms to make localization algorithms to find Z and to find what? We cannot find the shape from this leading order term. We can find the polarization tensor. So we can find the polarizability of the target. Okay, thank you. Let's stop here.